Good evening, everyone, and welcome to another session of Ask the Coach with myself, Velani Chekhov from Narara Consulting, and we have...
Good evening, Chris Elphick from Breadfruit Consulting.
Thank you again for joining us in this episode today. We are brought to you live through Espresso page. If you haven't followed the page, please follow the page and look up what we have been going through in the past and other contents that are coming out on the page. So today we are continuing another episode of Ask the Coach. Just before we continue, I will recap on what we discussed or what we went through in the last couple of sessions. So in the last three sessions, we went through money. We talked about money. And the first thing that we talked about in the first series of money, we touched mainly on the income in a small business, and that was myself and Chris. And the next one, we had a guest that came in, which was Jackinson, and on that we touched on expenses. And last episode we talked about profit. And just a recap of all the sessions that we went through on money, just some highlights or some key important points that I want to leave off with us today before we go to our session today. Firstly, if you're a small business that are watching, just a reminder that if you haven't started your business yet, or if you are already into business, planning is very important in a business, especially to do with planning of the whole operation, but mainly last week we talked about financial stuff. So planning your income forecasting is very important for you to do in a business, and also record keeping in a business is very important, because that's where you can measure if you're making a profit or you're making a loss, and it helps you to keep your expenses in track. And also one more thing that is so important for us all to consider is having a balance between our culture and getting into business. That is very important for us to consider when we're starting our business, because it's some of the things that are mainly contributing to a lot of failure in businesses. And the last thing, just to remind us all again that in a business, we got to start. If we're starting off, we're going to be expecting losses in the beginning as we start off, but don't be discouraged, because it's just a phase of starting up a business. So that's it for the money, the series of money that ended last week. And today we will continue with, Chris will talk about the topic that we were going to go through today. So I'll leave it to Chris to start it off. Thank you.
That's fantastic, Velani. And before I go on, just really reinforce everything that you said. We're in business to make money. Just like we do a job, we want to make some money. The advantages of being in business on our own is that whatever money we make belongs to us. Yeah? But of course there's challenges as well, isn't there? But I think those last three have been fantastic. And all I would say, you're very good at not promoting yourself, but I want to promote you. People should come and talk to you. And you do some great stuff on online and face-to-face. And I think we all need help around these areas, yeah?
Yeah.
And we all, someone just to sit down. It doesn't have to be big or complicated. It's just someone to help us through. So I think that's fantastic. Well done.
Thank you, Chris.
Good. And I'm sure that the details are probably scrolling on the screen.
Yes, they should be. Thank you.
Okay, so amazingly, we're not that far off the end of 2023. Over 2.5 years now since COVID started. Sounds amazing, doesn't it?
It's crazy how time flies as well.
So we're getting near the end of the year. So our last few sessions are really focusing on helping us think about bridging to next year. And Velani, you talked about planning And next time, and maybe the time after that before Christmas, we're focused a lot on planning, yeah? But before we do that, I want to talk a little bit about what we should do before we get into planning for next year. Think that's okay?
Yes.
Yeah? Because one of the difficulties sometimes, I think, as a coach, I see people, they just get up every day and they do the same old thing every day. And of course they get the same result, yeah? And I think what I want to encourage people is to take this opportunity towards the end of the year to do what I call reflection. So reflection, quite simply, looking back on the year, yeah? Thinking back on what you've done in your business, how well you've done it, what some of the challenges have been. Not taking 5 minutes to do it, but taking some time to do it, yeah?
Yep.
And the reason for doing that is to set the scene for planning for next year. If the plan for next year is exactly the same as the plan for this year, something's not working.
True.
Is that true?
Yes.
Because things have changed, haven't they? Yeah?
Yes.
The environment's changed, the political environment, the economy's changed, yeah? We've got different price costing structures now, things like fuel, than we had 12 months ago. And these should all be reflected in our planning. But in order to be able to plan, we need to look back and learn. Does that make sense?
Yes. That's very important. We can't plan ahead if we don't, we have to look back and experience, see what we've went through in the past. And that's a good point.
Sure.
We recap on what we've done, and that's going to pave us a way forward of how we're going to see things differently in the coming future. So, yeah, I think it's very important to. I like a quote that I think I heard from you. It's about what was it? If you don't do what you have.
If we always do.
Yes.
What we have always done, we will always get what we have always got.
Right.
So if we go on doing the same old things, we can't expect anything to change. And that's true in every aspect, really, of our life, yeah?
Yeah.
And I think what I'm saying is, if we're going to make changes, just don't get up in the morning and think, oh, let's make a change. No. Let's actually make a change based on what we've learned.
That is true in all aspects. And I can relate that to finance as well.
Absolutely. I mean, the two words in my mind would be reactive and proactive, yeah? Mm-hmm. Reactive is where we spend our lives just reacting to things that happen to us. You know? Proactive is about doing as much planning as we can. We can't stop things like cyclones happening or anything, yeah? But we do know they happen, yeah? Don't we? So Definitely. We can actually plan as best we can to be ready for whenever it's going to happen. Okay. Shall I keep going for a bit on this one? And you come on in, yes?
Sure.
And we can help you around all these issues. I think the important thing about reflection is about understanding that when we have an experience, we don't learn at the time. So for example, let's imagine that we're running a small business and we've got a customer who's upset because they're upset because they haven't got what they wanted, or they feel that they've been charged too much money, or yeah. Now, when that's happening, we're not going to learn from that. Yeah? We're just going to be busy dealing with the customer. Yeah. Afterwards, and by afterwards, pretty soon afterwards if possible, the learning takes place by us sitting down on our own or with staff if they were involved and asking the question, well, what did we learn from that experience? Yeah? What did it teach us? What is it that we need to do differently? Yeah?
Yes. Yes.
We're not reflecting in order to find someone to blame. We're reflecting in order to learn so that we can hopefully have a different experience next time.
And that is very important. It's very important that when we're doing business, we have to understand these things, because we can't just ignore some of the things that are happening in the business. Like ignore in a sense that, okay, this is something that's happened and it's going to happen again next year, and we don't have anything in place to to really address the issue or the situation. So I think it's very important, and it's a big issue. And now that we're talking about it, it's an issue that I'm seeing in a lot of offices around. You go to an office this year, and then the next year you go to the same office with the same issues
and the same complaining.
Same complaint, and you never have any.
But nothing changes.
Nothing changes. So I hope people that are watching are really taking these things that we're talking about as important stuff in. We're wanting to move forward in our businesses. We have to take these things very seriously.
We do. And as coaches, we can sit down with you confidentially, yeah?
Yes.
And work through. We're not your mother or father or your... yeah. We're just somebody that can talk to.
Definitely.
I mean, it was interesting, as we're talking, what I'm hearing a lot at the moment is the number of employers complaining about the number of employees who are going on seasonal work.
True.
Yeah, and I hear a lot of people complaining. I was talking to an employer the other day. It happens to be the builder who's doing work on our house. And he was not complaining. He was saying, well, it's difficult sometimes. It's not convenient, but it's happening. So I need to plan my business to deal with it. Yeah? And he was talking about how he keeps in touch with his people. And when they come back, if they want to, they come back to work for him. That's a different attitude, yeah? One is complaining and you keep complaining. That's not going to change anything.
True.
Other than add to the stress level.
Yeah.
And I think there are a lot of people around who are stressed, and a lot of that is because we're not really learning from these experiences. So we're still looking for someone to blame.
I think that's a very good example that you put out, because I think this guy is taking it in a very responsible manner, right? Like he's willing to wait for his workers the workers, if they return, they can come back and work for him. And I think that's the option that we should, it's something that we can't stop people from going, and we can't get angry at them for going.
No. It's an opportunity.
It's an opportunity, but let's just adjust ourselves and make ourselves available. When they come back, they come back.
If we're running a business, we've chosen to run a business. Yeah. We're running it in a country where we have cyclones. Yeah. We're running it in a country where people go and seek other opportunities. Of course they do. Yeah. And I think we have to look at, how do we make all this work? So I'm sure we won't have time to finish off tonight, but there are a number of questions, around reflection. The first thing I think people need to do is look back on this year, and let's just take this year, it's probably a good period, 2022, and ask themselves, what have we done well? What are we proud of? What have we achieved this year? Now, my experience is most people don't start with those questions. They start with, what are the problems?
Right.
They start with what's gone wrong. So you're almost starting going downwards. Yeah.
True.
If you were in business at the beginning of this year and you're still in business now, that is an achievement. All over the world, businesses have found it really difficult to survive. For no fault of their own, particularly. So that's my first set of reflection questions, is to think back on the year. If you've got a team, sit down with, it's a great team activity, yeah? Sit down with a team, brainstorm, get a big sheet of paper or whatever, yeah? And talk about all the things that we're proud of for the year. Do you think people would do that?
I think it's
Is it a
important.
bit challenging?
It's challenging, but it's also a very important activity to do. I'm not sure if all the businesses are doing this.
I think then probably not. No, I think probably not.
No.
But it's like, I mean, the image I use is to say to people, if you're going to build something, yeah, anything, a house, a shed, whatever, what do you start with? You start with the foundations, yes? So you don't start with all the things that have gone wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah? You start with the strong that's going to build, that's going to keep everything going. So if we're talking, remember the point of reflection is to help us plan for next year. So that has to start on what's gone well this year. And as a coach, I would spend a lot of time with people just facilitating their own thinking. Yeah?
Yeah.
I know culturally sometimes maybe we've been taught a little bit not to write too much about what we're proud of or pleased of. But, you know, my view is that that's what we're going to build the business on.
Yes, I think it's important to discuss that in a business.
Okay.
So that, as a team, we all know what our achievements are. And it kind of, it's motivating when you discuss that as a team. And it helps also build the team capacity and gives the team a good spirit that, you know, you're doing great, and just reflect on that. And there could be some things that are not so going on well, but that's part of reflecting.
That's the next set of questions.
Yes.
Yeah, isn't it? It's just like bringing kids up, isn't it? If you keep telling a kid how bad they are, all they're going to do is learn to become even worse.
True.
Is that true?
That is so true.
Now we keep reinforcing that negativity, you know? And so for me, reflection has to start with the positive. And the more you can do it with other people, if you're a sole trader, maybe working with someone like you or me or a coach is a good way of doing it, yeah? I mean, all we would do is guide people with the questions, yeah? Not our answers.
Yeah.
So we'll carry on with this in our next Ask the Coach. But the second lot of questions then is, having gone to what are we pleased about, then we come back to what would we want to do differently. Yeah? Not before that. What have we not done well? Yeah, what are the things that we're actually not quite so pleased about? Yeah. What just hasn't worked? Where have our weaknesses shown up during the year? You know, and I mean that could be anything, couldn't it? It could be the way we've recruited staff, could be the way we talk to customers, it could be our timekeeping, and again, I think this is about being honest. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not about being told off by a teacher, isn't it? You know, if we want to plan for a stronger business and more profit next year, we've got to build on what we're good at, and we've got to tackle what we're not good at. And if we're not honest about that, we don't have a starting point for 2023.
True.
From your experience, do those sort of questions make sense?
Yes, they definitely do. And these questions, business owners are the one that's, you know, you have to take charge in this. It's not your employees.
No, it is the owner.
Yes.
It is the owner. And if you're working with your partner, with your husband or your wife or someone in your family, you've got to do it there. Yeah? And that might be a little bit tricky. It might not be quite so easy in the family. So again, maybe having a coach, somebody from outside the family with you, who is not part of the emotional side of your business at all, but can just guide you. Maybe that's a good way of going forward, yeah?
Definitely. Thank you, Chris.
That's all right. I mean, this is really important now, and we've got time now to get our heads around it.
Yeah.
So next time we'll carry on and 2 or 3 other groupings of questions, and then we'll start talking about how we build our plans, having done this reflection. But I hope people start doing it now. Don't leave it.
Yes, it's very important, and Chris here has a lot of experience with coaching teams and coaching individuals on, you know, the sole proprietor in a business, or you have a team in your business. There's tools that can help you as well get to know your staff, and yeah. So if you need help with planning or reflecting, please do reach out to Chris. Here is big on, you know, helping you out with this stuff. So
can I just
yes.
do a quick promotion?
Sure.
So every week I normally have an article in the Vanuatu Daily Post aimed at small businesses, yeah? And it also goes in the newspapers in Solomons and Fiji. I've just finished a series on ideas. The series that that's just started last week is all around preparing for 2023. So it's a written series covering these issues. And if anybody wanted a soft copy of any of those articles, all they need to do is contact me.
So you have it right there. Contact Chris. I'm sure the contact is running down the screen. Thank you again, everybody, for watching. And this session has been very helpful. Thank you, Chris.
You're welcome.
We'll catch you again next 2 weeks,
Yes.
and we'll be talking about planning.
We will.
So
Well, we're
stay
moving
tuned.
on to it. Yes, indeed.
Yes. Thank you, everyone. Have a lovely evening.
Thanks, Melanie.
Thank you, Chris.
Good night, everyone.